How do the Straw Hats damage immortals has been the biggest question on Elbaf. Although the last chapter taught us that damaging the Holy Knights is related to Conqueror's Haki, Gaban didn't expand on what specific application of Conqueror's Haki could do it. So far, the only application of Conqueror's we know of is Conqueror's coding. But it's clear that this isn't the key, as it would be narratively empty. This power is clearly written as if Luffy doesn't yet understand what it is, so for it to be standard advanced Conqueror's coding would make no sense. Although I do believe that what Gaban is referring to is a level of advanced Conquerors that Oda hasn't fully fleshed out yet. But would you believe me if I said we've already seen it hinted at in the story? Of course, I'm referring to the infamous Wi-Fi Haki incident orchestrated by the one and only Shanks. That's right, through Shanks we actually get a key that damaging the immortals takes this new level of Wi-Fi Haki advanced conquerors, which I think has a basis in observation coded in conquerors. So what do I mean by that? Well, to understand why, let's rewind this moment between Shanks and Green Bull for a second to fully grasp what he did here. So Shanks pulls up near the end of Wano and somehow was able to sense Green Bull from miles away, and sent his Conqueror's Haki directly to where he is, and in the process negates Green Bull's forest powers, just to prevent him from fighting his son, Monkey D. Luffy. It's also important to note that Green Bull was able to ascertain it was actually Shanks. Shanks also spoke to Green Bull as if he could hear him, which I find interesting. Nonetheless, the key detail I want you guys to focus on is how Green Bull was forced outside of his Devil Fruit. That's important because I believe there lies the Holy Knight's weakness. Their powers are likely coming from a Devil Fruit source, ultimately granted from Imu's powers. So if this power Shanks displayed can negate Devil Fruits, it can also negate the immortality Imu grants them. But what's most important here is, how do you activate this power and how will Luffy learn it? Well, you see, I believe this power is a mix between Conqueror's and Observation Haki, what I like to call Conqueror's Perception. Think about it. The most prominent thing about this attack is the distance and accuracy at which Shanks locates Green Bull, something only possible through absolutely broken Observation Haki. There's also a mutual exchange and understanding each other's presence. Green Bull knew it was Shanks. Shanks went as far as talking to Green Bull. This is something we've only seen with Observation Haki. As we see in Egghead, the Gorosei were able to hear each other's voice and communicate effectively. I believe at the upper echelons of Observation Haki, this can be achieved. But how and why is this possible? It makes you think, what is Observation Haki really? Well, the word observation means you can perceive the world, but there are many ways to perceive the world. You can see, touch, taste, hear the world. Observation Haki works on these principles. We've seen characters see very far with Observation Haki, as in the case of Usopp's feet in Dressrosa. We've seen people hear the world, as in the case with the Gorosei. I also believe Sanji has the ability to taste something just by looking at it, which is why he was able to bake Big Mom's cake as perfectly as he did. What I'm saying here is that Observation Haki taps into all your senses. We've even seen Sanji smell with Observation Haki in Elbaf. He was able to sense that Robin wasn't in Elbaf by smelling the air. At first it's written off as a gag, but it's clear this has something to do with Observation Haki. But would you believe me if I told you there's another way to perceive the world with Observation Haki, a sort of sixth sense? I believe this last way to perceive the world is to perceive one's soul. Think about it. Fujitora was able to do this in Dressrosa by seeing the color of people's soul. Each person had a different color, which represents a different personality. I believe since Fujitora is blind, he's not seeing literally the person, but rather their soul. This is the key to understanding what Observation Haki can do at the highest level. See and perceive someone's soul. This is even represented in Future Sight. Think about it. Why is it that you can see into the future? Well, I believe The soul projects what is going to happen before even the mind or the body. If you can read people's deep inner intentions and understanding who they are truly in their soul, you can predict the future of their movements. Future sight is one product of perceiving someone's soul. But what if I told you that at the absolute highest levels of observation, you can not only perceive the soul, but touch the soul? I believe if you quote observation haki with conquerors, you can directly and physically affect your opponent's soul, which is exactly what Shanks did to Green Bull. Think about it. Green Bull wasn't exactly hurt by this technique, but rather he was reduced to his normal body, or one could say his true soul body. This is especially interesting if you consider that Green Bull has his own regeneration hacks that allows him to turn back into a sapling no matter how much damage he takes. But I believe the way to counter Green Bull's regeneration is this observation coded conqueror Shanks displayed, especially when you consider that his regen is a result of his own devil fruit. If you can nullify the devil fruit, you can nullify the regeneration. And here lies the key to understanding the Holy Knight's weakness. Gabon temporarily made their bodies human by combining conquerors with observation. You can especially tell this is observation haki related because Gabon jumped a large distance at Summers to blitz him. And considering the scale of Elbaf, that's an impressive distance. To be able to discern his enemy and attack from that distance is a result of great observation haki. This also makes perfect sense because Gabon was first and foremost highlighted as an amazing observation haki user. He was able to sense the Holy Knights even while they were hiding their presence. He also is a confirmed future sight user. So the weakness of the Holy Knights being related to observation fits nicely with Gabon being the one to show us how to damage them. But allow me to take this idea further. See, I believe there's another factor to damaging immortals that necessitates peak observation. You see, I believe damaging the Holy Knights also involves the abyss mark we've seen on their bodies, specifically being able to damage that mark. See, it's important to first analyze where Gabon attacked Summers first. Gabon specifically targeted the left hand of Summers first. Coincidentally, this is also where Summers has this strange tattoo, something similar to the same strange tattoo Shanks has in the recent flashback. A tattoo also on his left hand, which is increasingly suspicious once we consider that Emu removed Dory's left hand prior to the Domi Reversi. Perhaps Emu targets the left hand because of spiritual symbolism. You put your left hand on the Bible before you solemnly swear. You put your marriage ring on your left hand. The left hand is thematically linked to agreements and contracts, and understanding this gets us closer to understanding their weakness. See, not only do I think you need to use Conqueror's perception to negate immortality, but I also think you need to target a specific part of their body to successfully damage them. The part where the abyss mark is located. In this case, Summers' left hand. So let's go over the steps to defeat the immortals quickly again so that nobody is confused. Step 1. Culture observation with conquerors to temporarily shut out the immortality, like we see Shanks use against Green Bull. Step 2. Target the mark of the abyss, which is most likely somewhere in their left hand. But here's the plot twist. I believe the Holy Knights may be able to move where the abyss mark is located within their body, so it's more difficult to target. And that's where observation haki is re-emphasized. You must have great observation to be able to pinpoint where the mark is. So it's best to think of this through the lens of Zoro and Pika's fight to fully grasp how this would work. To defeat Pika, Zoro had to discern what part of his huge stone body did Pika's real body escape in to avoid damage. If you fail to damage his real body, which can be anywhere inside his huge stone body, Pika would be unharmed. But if you pinpoint his real body with observation haki, then you can damage him. I believe this is exactly how the Holy Knight's quote-unquote immortality works, which is why it can only be defeated with an advanced form of observation haki to not only nullify Emu's powers, but also target the mark of their immortality. Luffy has to learn this advanced conqueror's perception to be able to damage the Holy Knights. This also makes a lot of narrative sense because the first advancement of conquerors that he learned was armament Haki related. So think about it, right? How advanced conqueror's coding works as we know it is that you arm your own body with conquerors to directly attack your opponent. Armament application is emphasized here because Luffy had to learn Ryu before grasping advanced conqueror's coding because it is a combination of armament and conquerors. So naturally, the next level Luffy has to learn is how to use conquerors combined with observation. I also believe observation Haki being at the core of this technique makes more sense for people who are not conquerors. This power works by using a frequency of Haki to shut down Devil powers, but once shut down, the Devil user will be vulnerable. So it's fair game for any attack to land thereafter, even if it's not from an advanced conqueror's user. We've seen with Shanks that this power can have an area of effect that covers far distances, so the user doesn't even need to directly fight the opponent to make him vulnerable. So I believe during this weakened state Green Bull was in, any of the scabbards could have attacked him and he would sustain damage. What I'm trying to say here is that this power is a great tool for teamwork. Luffy, for example, can use this to his advantage. So let's say Luffy uses Conqueror's perception on Summers to make him vulnerable. Now someone who doesn't have advanced conquerors like Usopp can now target Summers and damage him when the attack lands, as long as Luffy's Conqueror's perception is still affecting Summers. See, this makes the power much more balanced than most would think. Initially, knowing this power may be exclusive to Conquerors brought a lot of concern on it being too exclusive of a power, because it simply looked like no one but Conquerors would have a hand in defeating these immortals. But if this theory becomes true, anyone could damage the Holy Knights as long as a Conqueror's perception user is present. This caveat makes this a far more balanced power without taking away the exclusivity of who can use it. A power perfect for a crew of people to use as long as they have a captain of a certain caliber. A power that all Straw Hats can exploit even if a few of them have it. It even makes more sense for the revolutionaries to be the main enemy of the Holy Knights as well, because if Dragon is well versed in this Haki, he may be able to cast a very wide area of effect to nullify multiple immortals, allowing the Revs to damage anyone in that sphere of Dragon's Conqueror's perception. You just need one really strong leader to make this power extremely useful, and that's why it makes the most sense. That's right, all along the key to damaging the Holy Knight and the Gorosei is Conqueror's perception, an advanced application of Conquerors coded with observation Haki. That's the theory, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching. Like always, like, comment, and subscribe if you found this interesting. I have more on the way, but until then, middle way out.